There are a ton of weird and unique facts about Oklahoma. Let's talk about 10 different weird things about this state and what it might mean for you if you're living here. I'm Marcie Billen, and I'm a real estate agent with Team Realty and Keller Mulinix here in Oklahoma. This is why I talk about living in Oklahoma, because I help people move here all the time. I love weird history, trivia, facts, and you might too, and that's great. But you also want to know why it matters to you if you're thinking about moving here, or maybe you just have moved here. So here we go, 10 different things that are kind of weird about Oklahoma that could affect your life. So there's a lot of red dirt, and you may have heard this. So the red dirt that we find in Oklahoma is weathered sand, siltstone, and some shale. That's where the dirt comes from, and it's red for that reason. So red dirt is found on more than 1 million acres in 33 counties in Oklahoma. So red dirt and clay is literally everywhere, and there's a ton in my neighborhood, as you can see here. I live in central Oklahoma, specifically in Norman, and we do have a ton of red dirt, but this is not as red as some other parts of Oklahoma. So the biggest effect that this red dirt is going to have on your life is that if your dog's playing it outside, they're going to be covered, and it's really hard to get off. Like, it's kind of like glue. And then the other thing is that clay, which is what the red dirt is, or what it has in it, expands and contracts depending on how much water you have in the clay, which means that your house could actually move from the clay being underneath it. Does this cause foundation issues? Yeah, it absolutely can, and that's something that we're totally used to dealing with. Oklahoma has over 200 man-made lakes. So there's 11,611 miles of coastline in Oklahoma, which is more coastline than non-tidal coast of the Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico. Not every lake in Oklahoma is man-made, but most of them are. Your drinking water is most likely going to come out of a lake unless you have well water. Having this many lakes means that we are also a lake culture. So during the summer, there are so many people that spend all of their weekends at the lake. A lot of people have lake houses, or their families have lake houses. Each lake is very different. It has a different culture, different types of houses, different docking rules, boating, swimming, fishing. So you kind of have to find the lake that works for you. So about 60% of the surface water in Oklahoma is used for drinking. We get our water from a lake here in Norman, and I do not drink the water in Norman. I use it for my dishes and cooking and all that stuff, but I don't drink it. I have a water fountain in my house, or I have a water cooler in my house. The Norman water tastes
disgusting.
It just does not taste good, and you'll notice that a lot of people don't drink the water. I grew up near Tulsa, and my family was on a rural water district, and the water was so tasty that I would routinely drink the water straight out of my bathroom tap, like straight out of my bathroom sink. Oklahoma does have 4 mountain ranges. So these are small, these are not big mountain ranges. We're not talking the Rockies here. So we have the ARBUCKLES, the Wichitas, the Ouachitas, and also the Ozarks. Now the Ouachitas and the Ozarks are not technically all in Oklahoma. Like, the Ozarks are mostly in Arkansas and Missouri, and then the Ouachitas are actually, a lot of that is in Arkansas as well. The ARBUCKLES are the ones that I routinely visit, so that's directly south of where I live here in Norman. I love to go hiking and just spend the day kind of in the short mountains. I think that some of the weirdest looking rock formations are going to be in the Wichitas, which is what's on my shirt. The Wichitas have these kind of round boulders on top of short mountains, and sometimes they just stick out of random pastures. Like, it's really cool looking and kind of otherworldly. But a lot of my friends go to the Wichitas routinely to go hiking. But all these mountain ranges are really great for your hiking and outdoor adventures. It's not like living in Colorado. We're not going to say that it is, but we do have mountain ranges and places to go and be outside. So 33.7 million acres in Oklahoma is actually farmland. Oklahoma is like number 4 in the nation, I believe, for cattle. There are cows in some places where you would not imagine cows would be, but there they are. And of course, in western Oklahoma, you're gonna find fields and fields of cotton, soybeans, corn, wheat. Wheat is the top crop from Oklahoma. You'll find pecans, watermelons, I mean, lots of different kinds of things. Lately, I've noticed a lot more people butchering their own cows or buying a cow to butcher at a local slaughterhouse or whatever, and they may share it with friends and family so that they have enough beef for the entire year, and they just put it in their deep freeze. It's pretty common, and that way you know where your beef is coming from. In 1905, the 5 civilized tribes tried to make a state called SEQUOYAH. So the 5 civilized tribes are Indian nations present in Oklahoma. So in high school, Oklahomans learn at length about the 5 civilized tribes, usually to the detriment of all the other tribes, because there's a ton of tribes. There's 39 plus tribes in Oklahoma. 39 recognized tribes is what we say. So it's not just the 5 civilized tribes, but they did try to make a state called SEQUOYAH in 1905. So I've had a lot of people talk to me about the native population and native lands in Oklahoma. So in 2019, the Supreme Court of the United States did rule that half of Oklahoma is technically native land. So this gave the nations the right to prosecute depending on like who was involved with a certain crime, right? So in 2022, they came back with a decision that shifted more power into the hands of the state, declaring that the state may prosecute crimes committed against Native American victims by non-natives in native country. So this gives the state power on native lands, which in 2019 technically had been taken away from the state itself. Pensacola, Oklahoma was the site of a Civil War battle in 1862. 1862 was long before Oklahoma became a state. Oklahoma became a state in 1907. The Confederates did win this battle in 1862, as they usually did in the early years of the war. You will see remains of Confederate culture in Oklahoma, specifically in rural areas. This kind of lack of shared history is what separates Oklahoma from the South, like Texas, Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana, because we weren't a state during the Civil War, and there just weren't that many people who lived here, so we don't have that sort of deep South culture that the other states have. So the official state meal of Oklahoma, guys, get ready for this. This is a ton of food. Are you ready? I've got to read it to you. We have fried okra, squash, cornbread, barbecue pork, biscuits, sausage and gravy, grits, corn, strawberries, chicken fried steak, pecan pie, and black-eyed peas. It's so much food. So this meal was adopted as a state meal in 1988. And first of all, like I said, this meal is huge, which is fine because we do tend to eat a lot of food. But the grits thing really throws me off. If you're moving to Oklahoma expecting everywhere to have grits and expecting them to be good grits, you are in for a surprise. I have never once in my life had grits at an Oklahoman's house ever. And whenever I order them out at restaurants, like, they're just not very good. Like, if you want grits, I'm sorry, but you gotta go to the deep South. Specifically Florida, that's where I always eat my grits. But overall, this is a pretty good list of like culturally Oklahoman foods. So one thing that people talk to me about a lot is the population in Oklahoma. So the average population is 50.3 people per square mile, which is nothing whenever you compare it to a state like New Jersey, which has, 1,134 people per square mile. This is part of what makes Oklahoma so popular, is that we're super sparsely populated, but this number is going up pretty quickly. Oklahoma is the space where 4 different cultures, regions meet. So we're talking about the South, the Midwest, the South, and the Southwest. It's a lot of different American cultures, right? So I saw this map one time and I needed to show it to you guys. So this is a map of where people say the word pop versus soda versus Coke. So 3 different ways to say a soda pop, basically. So it seems so simple and stupid, but this map correctly illustrates the true melting of the 4 cultural regions that swirl together in the very middle of the US to create the unique culture that happens to be Oklahoma. So the word pop is typically associated with Chicago. I am from Tulsa, around Tulsa, and I grew up saying the word pop. And if we look at this map of pop versus soda versus Coke, you can see that in Tulsa, like, most people say pop, and I say pop. And then whenever you come to like Oklahoma City or even south of that, then you see that people say Coke, which is a southern thing. So in Texas, they say Coke, and we do have a lot of Texas transplants. So that makes so much sense. Soda is something I typically only hear on the coast, like if I'm traveling in California or maybe Maine, but you can see that in several parts of Oklahoma, people might say soda. So you can see how this is a true blending of different cultures. And it's kind of a silly way to show you, but I think the map's really cool. If you are thinking about moving to Oklahoma, I am a real estate agent and I have several guides that you can see at this link here, and they're also going to be found in the description. So these guides are technically relocation guides. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.